Welcome to the Everything podcast for creatives who do everything except pick one thing.
In this podcast, we talk to multi-passionate creatives, artists, writers, entrepreneurs, and innovators of all kinds about how they manage their many projects, what works for them, and the lessons they've learned along the way. We have conversations about unconventional careers and take a look into the creative minds that refuse to fit in a box.
New episodes every first Wednesday of the month. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Everything podcast. In today's episode, we welcome Dave Kang to talk about the Octopus Life. Dave is a fellow multi-passionate creative, except he likes to use the term an octopus person. He has worked for Silicon Valley startups, creative agencies, and Fortune 100 corporations, and has over 20 years of marketing experience. Welcome, Dave. Did I miss anything, or do you want to add something extra?
No, that's great. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to this.
Yes, we do.
So nice to have you here today.
Thank you.
I'm very excited to get into all the tentacles. I had to do this dad joke, but I'm ready to go. I want to know more.
All right. Okay, do you want to ask the first question?
We're going to shoot right in with the first question.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, okay. So the first question I think everyone wants to hear for sure is, how would you define the octopus life? So what is this, the octopus life? Just tell us.
Sure. Yeah, well, the octopus is a metaphor, obviously, for people like us, generalists, polymaths, multi-passionate people who like to do many things. You know, an octopus obviously has 8 arms. It can control them independently, and it can do 8 different things at a time. And so I think it's just a fun way to describe this kind of person. It's something I kind of thought up while I was on a sabbatical a couple of years ago when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up. And so it's kind of just a symbolic metaphor. And so over the last maybe 18 months or so that I've been writing about it, I've kind of refined what I think it is. You know, when I first started, it was just a generalist, you know, just a typical person who likes to do a lot of things. But generalism is a pretty broad category, and the polymath people actually kind of like to separate themselves from generalists. You know, they have their own definition, roughly, of, you know, someone who's pretty good at 3 or more things. And so there's these kind of factions within this broader group of generalism. But to me, like, an octopus person has a few different traits. One is there's a lot of curiosity, and I draw a lot of these traits from the octopus itself and how it behaves. I don't take the metaphor like too seriously, but I just find it a fascinating creature. I've never owned one as a pet or anything, but it just has a lot of unique traits that most animals don't have. And so one is they are actually quite curious. You know, they do a lot of exploring and meandering around and just seeing what there is to see in their neighborhood. And I feel like people like us like to do that kind of thing too. And then the other thing is they're escape artists. They really hate being contained in cages. And for me, like I kind of liken it to, you know, a corporate cubicle feeling like a cage. For creative people who've tried to work in that environment, they found it really restricting. You know, we don't really like it. We don't feel like we can do our best work in that kind of environment. And so we want to escape, right? Like there are times when I worked in a cube where I wished like I could just go for a 2-hour walk and try to brainstorm something, but then that would be frowned upon, right? Like people would be like, where were you? Like, where did you go? Like, why weren't you at your desk? And, you know, just stuff like that it's just hard. It feels containing. So that's another trait. The other one that I think kind of separates it from other generalists is I like to call it octopreneurship, where we're trying to make a living off of this, right? Like not all generalists want to make a living off their generalism. They just kind of identify with the idea. I have many hobbies, or I like different kinds of music or something. And then they have their day job and they do their fun activities on the nights and weekends. And I did that for many years, but there was something dissatisfying about it. You know, you always feel like you never had enough time to do the stuff you really wanted. And so the octopus life isn't it's for me, at least the people that I'm trying to reach or write to or find are people who are also trying to make a living off their tentacles. Like not have a full-time day job. And I'm not against that. I think the reality is that most people probably need that for financial security, or because it is really hard to make your own income. I'm not going to pretend like that's just easy, right? Like, oh yeah, just go
so
make
easy.
100,000 euros or something. Like so
wish.
easy. Anyone can do it.
Yeah.
So it's it's kind of a subset of generalism. So these are some of the traits. I have a few others, but like those are kind of the main ones, like creative, curiosity, entrepreneurship, want to escape, want to kind of craft a life for yourself. And the last thing I'll say is it's sort of this idea of bringing your whole self to your whole life. Generalism kind of focuses on skills, I feel like. People talk about skill stacking and stuff, but for me, a tentacle, it could include things like spirituality, or it could include just listening to music, like not even performing it yourself, but it's just something you enjoy doing. And I like this idea of integrating everything into your whole being. So that's kind of roughly how I describe Octopus Life.
Yeah, that sounds very much like me.
I really like that idea of making it not just about sort of like the work aspect of it, but the all-encompassing aspect of it. I think
Yes.
that really provides a full image of it. Yeah, I really, really like that, actually.
Yeah, same. I love that. It's also like the animal. That was sort of a question in my brain too, like why an octopus? But like you said, he's like they are curious and escape artists. And I was like, all right, yeah,
Escape artist, yes.
even better.
Yeah, and I like that it's organic, right? Like all the other labels for this kind of thing are kind of either scientific or
Yes.
they're sort of psychological, or they're just based in an abstract concept that we've given definition to. But I like that the octopus is another living being, and there's an organic nature to that, which is more akin to how people operate.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's reminding me of that octopus documentary. I don't know if you guys have watched that one before. I think it's called, I can't remember.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. That's the
so
one.
beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful documentary.
Terrific,
And it really shows also the octopus's unique like problem solving skills as well, which I think definitely come into this as well, right? The more sort of tentacles and things that you have to pull with, the more ways you can also solve problems, I guess, and look at things from a creative sort of angle as well. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Really cool. I love how we
go ahead.
No, yeah, I love how we sort of try to give different like names to whatever, because like I don't like multi-passionate, I don't like multi-potentialite, so let's try to come up with a different name. It's like I recently saw neurospicy instead of being neurodivergent.
Yeah.
And I was just so amazed, like neurospicy, that sounds really cool. And I like now
fun.
I use it every day now. Like I'm neurospicy. It's so much better, right? Because neurodivergent, like you said, the same. It's like very scientific. It doesn't sound like something good, but like really bad. So
yeah, like ADHD, I mean, which is common in generalist people. It was originally described as kind of a deficiency, right? Like there's something wrong with these children, and you get labeled as somebody who has something wrong with you, and that's not. I don't think that's great for your psyche. I mean, it's great if you can discover that you have these certain traits, and it can help you understand yourself and things like that. But once you figure that out and want to move forward, I feel like it maybe hurts your identity more than helps. That I like to think of the positive things that these traits have, because some of these can be seen as weaknesses by specialists, but they're also strengths and things that make us unique and powerful in the workplace or just in life in general. And so I do like that there are labels that are kind of more positive, and octopus is kind of neutral, I guess, but it is more fun.
It is more fun.
It's more fun than some of these other more scientific labels.
For sure.
Of course, for sure. Yeah, no, I agree, and I do agree with that. It is more positive to see it that way, especially because different styles of work and of making your career, like the octopus way. Oh my goodness, my words. They require different kinds of personalities as well, right? Like I think, as you were saying before, it's not necessarily, you can't just say you're going to make a 10,000 euros doing a bunch of different things. It's not for everyone, and it's true because it requires a certain attitude, a certain disposition, a certain rhythm. Like not everyone has the same way of being, and that's I think a good thing.
Yeah,
for sure.
totally.
Yeah. Okay.
You want to get the next question, Kelly?
Yeah. Okay, let's go into the 8 tentacles. Tell us more. So, like, are they equal? Do they play different roles? Like, what sort of tentacles can you have?
Yeah. First of all, I don't think they have to be equal. When I first started, I envisioned that they'd maybe be equal, or at least try to make them equal. But in practice, I found this to be really difficult. It's sort of like if you had 8 different part-time jobs. It's hard to find 8 different part-time jobs that, for example, take the exact same amount of time. Like if you do creative work, like a designer or a video editor or something, and then you do other work that's, maybe you work in customer service or something, it's really hard to spend the exact same amount of time on those. Some things just take longer than others. And then when it comes to pay, it's hard to find 8 channels of revenue that are all exactly equal, right? Like it's hard to create, okay, 10,000 euros for this, 10,000 euros for that, 10,000 euros for this.
That would be
like
great.
I mean, it would be
Wow.
nice, right? Like if you could have 80,000 euros from 8 different jobs, exactly equal. But I think that's really challenging. And so if people want to try that, you're welcome to. But I just feel like in life, there are very few things that are completely equalized, like if you have kids, like your 2 or 3 or 4 children aren't all the same. If you've had different jobs over your career, none of them are exactly the same. And if you invest in stock markets, or if you're a venture capitalist, like none of your portfolio companies perform exactly the same. That you have some that go out of business and you have some that make $1 billion. So I think equalizing is kind of a lost cause. And so I think it's more important to have certain ones that are stronger maybe and do more lifting. I mean, and if you observe octopuses in the wild, they often do this. They'll find something that they want to, either they're hunting or whatever, and they'll use like 3 tentacles to do that. But then there's other 3 just sitting there doing nothing. So they're not using all 8 at the same time to do the same thing. And so I like this idea too, that you can independently kind of pull levers to make one bigger or smaller than another. And specific to finances, which I think is probably a common question that people have, that I kind of think it's okay if one of your tentacles is particularly good at making money. Most people have at least one marketable skill of some kind, that you kind of know in your head, like this is more commercial, than my other hobbies, like making making sculpture or something is really hard to make money. But if you're good at social media, obviously that's much easier to make money doing that because it's just a more marketable activity. So if people are trying to build out a portfolio, I think it's good to get at least a foundation of 1 or 2 that will make you some money as you establish yourself, and then the other ones can be just for fun. So I don't think they have to be equal.
I love that. I think mine are like, I might have a lot of hobbies in there.
Yeah. Well, at the other extreme, what you don't want is 8 things that don't make any money.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yes.
Yeah, like that's where you're going to struggle.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
And something else that's kind of funny is sometimes they'll just change. So like one of the ones that you didn't think was going to make money, and maybe it didn't for a while, and then suddenly it takes off after, X amount of time. That's also something I've been observing is if I have one that kind of sustains financially, I feel like less under pressure, because of, paying bills, etc. And so my creativity is better, and therefore it makes all the other tentacles shine more as well. Whereas if, I'm kind of working from a scarcity mindset, it's going to really deplete the other tentacles in general.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm also curious about this. what was life like before you started thinking in this octopus way? Because I see, from the introduction, it was a very different path. So kind of tell us how you arrived here.
Yeah. Well, I had a pretty traditional career. I mean, as a kid, I was always a curious and creative child. I was learning all different kinds of things. I was doing a lot of hobbies, playing musical instruments, etc. So I've always been kind of this way. But, when it came to career, I just, like most people, I just became very practical and said, okay, well, I need a job. I need the best job I can find that matches my skills. And I started climbing the ladder, so to speak. Each job, well, every job didn't like make more money, but sometimes I went backwards. But for the most part, over 20 years or so, I kind of slowly climbed a ladder. I wasn't a superstar performer at work. I feel like I was like maybe slightly above average or something. I mean, there were certain things that I was pretty good at, but there were a lot of other marketer people or whatever, or designers that were as good or better than me at these particular skills. So like I was kind of like creeping up the corporate ladder, I guess. I wasn't, it didn't feel like climbing. It felt like, like every 10 years, like I'd go up a rung or something like that. But so I had a pretty traditional career. I worked in marketing mostly. I did some graphic design for a while, which I enjoyed, and then worked at some startups. I moved to Silicon Valley for a while. But most of it's been in marketing, and a bulk of it has been in the healthcare sector. But in 2023, I was laid off. Following the pandemic, the company I was working at sort of issued a return to office decree. Anyone who was working remotely had to go into an office. And I'd been working remotely for like 20 years or something at that time. Like I started working remotely in 2006, I think.
Wow.
Long before it was popular, long before the pandemic, when a lot of people went home. So I'd never worked in an office for this company. And they wanted me to move to a different state in the United States. And I didn't want to relocate like halfway across the country. And so I just, I knew, they kind of like offered me a cubicle, said we have a space for you, etc. But the HR person was like, we'd love to have you continue your career here, but like I just didn't want to go back. I mean, partly for reasons we discussed before, like I didn't want to be in an office environment because I just don't really like it. But anyway, like I knew that choice would put me on the potential list to be let go. And that did eventually materialize in 2023. So up until then, I had a pretty traditional career, I guess you could say, mostly themed around marketing. And I actually wanted to leave that career while it was happening at multiple different stages. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I wish I had some other work, or I want to be an entrepreneur. But I was I'll just be honest, like I was kind of scared to take that leap, like it's kind of, when you have like a good job and a steady paycheck and benefits, I know this isn't as much an issue for you guys in Europe, but like in the US, like healthcare is a big thing. Like if you go out on your own, the healthcare options are terrible. Companies usually provide you healthcare. And so that keeps a lot of people from becoming entrepreneurs. But like getting laid off sort of it like kicked me out the door, and in a good way, I think, because
it was like a nudge.
Yeah, it was like a major life nudge to, okay, like the universe was kind of saying, like God was kind of saying, like, okay, Dave, you keep saying this, you want to do this. Well, now's your chance.
I'm
like
help
I'm gonna force you to do it since you're not doing it on your own. So so my life was pretty typical before the octopus thing.
Oh, sorry, go Kelly.
No, go all out.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. I was just gonna say, I was curious. I know this is not in our questions actually, but it just came to me now, this question, which is, since you do have a background with, marketing as well, how has that helped you as well in this work that you're doing now? Because I know you've mentioned this, Dave, somewhere. I don't know where I read it, if it was on Substack or LinkedIn, but you mentioned, this kind of the difficult part of like marketing yourself in this kind of job, because you do the jobs, but you also have to be your own sort of spokesperson. You have to market yourself. And that is sometimes draining, right? So how has maybe, being in marketing before, has it helped you now, would you say?
Yeah, well, a couple things come to mind. I mean, one is when you're doing marketing, you're constantly trying to position your product or service in a compelling way that's better or more interesting than competition. So when I started writing about generalism, I looked at all these labels that other people were using, and I kind of thought, well, I could say I'm a generalist and write like Dave's Generalist Substack or something.
Oh.
But I thought that's not, as a marketer, I thought, well, that's not differentiating. That doesn't make me stand out in any way. And so when I started thinking about the octopus as my spirit animal, I thought, well, maybe I could market around this concept. Like maybe I could brand myself as an octopus person and just push hard on that, because I didn't see anyone else doing this. And so I thought it might be eye-catching. Octopus is a visually interesting creature. You don't see octopuses on LinkedIn very often.
So true. So funny.
It's just like, like you don't see platypuses, you don't see, a flounder or something, or a koala. So I don't know. I just thought like, oh, well, this is visually kind of interesting too. So, I mean, I guess thematically we're talking about people who are good at a lot of things and can draw from experience in those things. So I had like graphic design experience too. So I was also kind of a visual thinker. So I thought, well, octopuses are going to be kind of interesting on LinkedIn in particular, because like, what does that have to do with work? Like, no, and people would find that really bizarre. And I thought that maybe it would have like scroll stopping power. I mean, that's not the main reason I did it. I mean, the main reason is because like, I just like the metaphor, but like as a marketer, when I put my brand hat on, I thought, okay, this could be like kind of differentiating and maybe make me more interesting than someone who just says I'm a polymath or something.
Yeah.
And the last thing I'll say is, I feel like, so there's two things. There's this book called Blue Ocean Strategy. I don't know if you've read it or heard of it, but
I haven't actually.
In a nutshell, it talks about like red oceans and blue oceans. And red oceans are like shark infested waters. There's like a lot of blood in the water because there's a lot of competition. This is a business book. Okay.
Okay. Gotcha.
It's not a oceanography biology book, but their metaphor is that, a red ocean is, you don't want to go there because like there's competition, like eating up all the customers or whatever. But a blue ocean is like, there's no competition. You're entering a market space where there's nobody there. So you're like the only competitor. So you're not competing against anyone. And there's a similar thing that's more recent that I think is maybe even more interesting, is this group of like pirate people. They call themselves pirates on LinkedIn. And their whole idea is around category design, which, I won't go into detail because I mean, it's kind of a long thing, but like, it's the same kind of idea where you invent your own category. So you become a market category of just you. So you create something that nobody else is doing. And this is true in innovation, right? Like anyone who's doing R&D or trying to make an innovative product, you're trying to build something that no one else has built before. And so these two ideas kind of informed my writing and thinking around being an octopus, that I want to like push on this concept because there aren't anyone else doing it, at least not in this way. I mean, and after I started writing, I actually found that there are some other people, and there's this organization called the Octopus Movement that's tangentially related, but they focus more on the neuro-spicy divergence kind of crowd, which I have traits of that, but I don't identify that way. But anyway, like, yeah, so as a marketer, I kind of think about things conceptually in this way. And it's not that I'm even trying to make this famous. Like this isn't like promoting the octopus idea isn't my life's calling, I guess, but it's just the way I like to think about this chapter of my work life. And so, so I just kind of use these different marketing, design, and visual thinking skills to make it more digestible for people.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, same. I love that. Okay.
No, especially because, it's kind of a more balanced approach as well. Like when your goal isn't just to like become famous, like you were saying. You can do it in a, I think, also more honest way, right? Where you're trying to stand out for what is already unique about your brand in this case, and you also actually do believe and enjoy the metaphor itself. So I think it works really well when there's like a level of, I know this word is used a lot and it's kind of lost all its meaning, but there's a level of authenticity to it, you know. And I think when we put that authenticity into the marketing as well, it ends up feeling at least better. I don't know. I speak for myself with that. Because I could follow the trends of how to sort of do something to get more eyeballs or, you know, get more views or stop, you know, scroll stopping. But it maybe wouldn't be so honest for myself. And I don't know, Kelly, if you, I know we've talked about this before, but
Yes.
it's the
Yeah, I
phony. What do
think
you
so.
call it, Kelly? You call it
I
sales,
forgot. Yeah,
not
I don't
cheesy
remember. No.
sales.
Yeah,
I can't
yeah, it
remember.
is. Yeah, I don't remember your. Oh no, I don't know, but it's. I think we do talk about a
Mhm,
lot, like being honest to yourself, true to
mhm,
yourself, and
mhm,
doing things for you and sharing with other people. Is like the first thing instead of
mhm,
like doing it for other people first. And I think that's what you have in common with a lot of people and with a lot of guests too here.
mhm,
Just the like authenticity. Yeah,
mhm,
we've talked about not liking the word either, but
mhm. Yeah.
it sort of is like
Mhm,
yeah, being true, staying true to yourself, I
mhm.
guess. Yeah.
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 Sleazy,
No,
yeah, sleazy sales.
Sleazy. That's it.
Sleazy, that was it. It's just like
yeah. Yeah, sellouts,
A
sleazy
sellout.
yeah.
sellouts, right? I mean, it's a
Yeah.
challenge though. I think when you work at a job and it's your job to market something, maybe you care about what you're selling or maybe you don't.
Mhm.
Maybe
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
you just needed a job and you
Yeah.
got one at this company and they
Yeah.
make
Exactly.
something that you're not passionate about, but
Yeah.
like you need a job, you got
You
hired.
need
So
a
now
job.
it's your turn. You have to promote it somehow. And so
Yep.
um, whether you authentically care about it or not isn't
Mhm.
really part of the equation.
Yeah.
But for people who, it seems like maybe a lot of your listeners are like us, right? Like we're
Mhm,
creative people trying to make a living and we're promoting something about us
mhm.
that we're doing. And so when you're promoting yourself or something that
That's
you're
the
working
thing.
on,
Mhm.
it does sort of matter, right?
Yeah.
Because nowadays I think people can smell when you're being fake
Yep.
and they don't like that, right? Like they
No.
don't like inauthenticity. They
Yeah.
want to know the real person. So I
Yeah,
do
for
think it
sure.
matters when it's you.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like with
it's
the
true.
AI. Like
With the AI.
I'm so sick of like when I read a title on Substack, when I see an image that is not like when it's AI generated, I just get instantly like, ugh, unfollow, unfollow. Because
Yeah.
I just don't like it. It's annoying. There's like too
Mhm,
much AI online and
mhm,
I just want to read whatever you have to say
mhm.
in your words and not in like ChatGPT's words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh,
No,
but
and
that's
and and
where
and sales is an art in and of itself. So you're
Yeah.
absolutely right, Dave, to say that, you know, if you're a salesperson and that's your job, like you'll sell
Yeah.
anything. It doesn't
Yeah.
like the more challenging, the better. It's like a fun challenge. But when
yeah.
it becomes you selling yourself, then it gets a bit tricky to
Yeah.
do that, right? Because it's personal, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the AI thing is just going to be unavoidable.
Yeah.
Like I feel like it's too easy to generate. Well, like the thing I'm seeing that um, in terms of marketing or promotion on social is these people that are using these AI tools to create like 500 Facebook ads,
Oh, yeah.
and then they put them all out there. But and that's horrible in one sense because it's just flooding your feed with these AI things. But the alternative is, are you going to sit there in Photoshop and make 500 ads yourself? You're probably
Mhm,
not. And you
mhm.
might lose out to the person who's using AI to, optimize their
Yeah.
campaign much quicker than you are. And so
Yeah.
that's the harsh reality of it. And I don't know that there's a solution for that. I just think that's what's going to happen. And for people like us, I think what we're going to end up doing is pushing the other direction, just like being more real, being
Yeah.
more honest and saying like, here's an actual project
Yeah.
I made with my hands,
Yeah.
not with AI.
100%.
And I think that's who will be interesting in the future.
For sure. And I see a lot of, like these analog trends already happening,
No.
including
Yeah.
Kelly. She's already starting
Oh, no.
something analog herself.
What are you doing that's analog?
Well, I'm trying to sort of put I'm call it issue number 0 because I'm not sure if I want to like keep doing it, but sort of a snail mail thing, like monthly, just like envelope with like a postcards and maybe like something else that I created in it. But again, issue 0 because I don't want to commit to having a monthly thing out there before I like try it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's fun. I do like having like something handmade. It's just and I guess I'm lucky perhaps in being a photographer. I can use my own photos, so I don't ever have to like create AI images. So
Yeah. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like photography is a great skill, I mean, everyone has a phone nowadays, but not everyone can take a great picture.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a good one to add.
Yeah.
But I like this too. I mean, I do think young people are starting to realize that social media is making them unhappy.
Yeah.
There is some good trends happening where, and I'm not just talking about, there's a resurgence in interest in vinyl records.
Yeah.
That is kind of true. But like in the US, there's this guy named Jonathan Haidt. I don't know if you know him. He's a professor
Yeah, I do.
at,
I
think
do, yeah.
NYU. But he's written a book and he's trying to like push to get cell phones and social media banned in schools.
Wow, yeah.
Up until I think age 16 or 18 or something like that. And I think this is a terrific thing. Kids just need to learn how to play and socialize with each other. Apparently like their social skills are becoming worse and worse,
For sure.
which I just generally don't think is good for society. So I think some removal of digital stuff might be good.
No, it's true. Actually, I really like that that author and I guess researcher as well. I think the latest book is The Anxious Generation, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I believe so.
And he's got some books from before as well, and he talks a lot about how this generation is extremely anxious. And that's a concern, right? You have a lot of young people who are already even, medicated because of their anxiety, be it social anxiety, be it, even depression, etc. And he talks a lot about technology for sure, which, I mean, if it's already difficult for us and we're not in our developmental stage of life, where our brain is still forming, like imagine for them, it's tough. It's not easy. All right. Well, I think we can kind of not veer completely off our plan and find another question. Big tangent. I'm
trying
sorry.
to solve the
I
next
started that one.
generation's social ills.
Why
That's
not?
a whole other podcast, I feel like. Kelly, do you want to pick one?
Go
for it.
Okay, I'm gonna go with how has living like an octopus changed the way you feel about money?
Ooh, that's a great one.
Yeah, it's a great one. So on a practical level, I used to think like, well, I need one job that has one salary and as high a salary as possible to make a living. But, with the Octopus Life, I've thought, well, okay, there's two ways to do this. I mean, one is you find one job that makes 100,000 euros or something, or you could have like 8 jobs that each make like 9,000 euros, right? Like we talked about before, you can kind of split this up. And in one sense, it feels riskier, but there's risk on both sides. Like I got laid off, so I thought that was a secure job up until it wasn't. And a lot of other people are in the last few years in particular getting laid off too from what they thought were secure jobs. And even now, like people who have historically secure jobs, like software developers, are now worried about their own job, which is supposed to be kind of like future proof. And so when it comes to money, I do feel like I like the idea of taking that more into control of my own hands and saying, well, I'm going to build skills and figure out ways to make my own money that doesn't depend on someone else. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is, spreading out your bets on the table and having more chances to make money more different ways. So if I have, let's say I have like 4 different revenue streams, if one of those fails or dries up for some reason or another, then I have 3 to fall back on, and then I can try to add a 4th and even a 5th or something like that. So you're kind of giving yourself more opportunities to earn revenue. And like we said before, I mean, that's not easy. It sounds cool on paper, right? Like, oh yeah, like I'll have like 5 different ways to make money. this will be amazing. But it's not that easy. But what I want to say about that, I think it's easier to make $1,000 than $100,000. Right? I think most people would agree with that, right?
Yeah,
like it's
100%.
easier to make less than more. So if you have lots of bets making less, your chance of hitting on something that works is greater than if you put all your eggs in one basket to try to make a ton. And even VCs know this, from living in Silicon Valley. The VC portfolio, you hear these stories on the news about, well, this VC invested in OpenAI when it was very small and now they're a billionaire or something. But what they don't share in the news is like the 90 other companies that they invested in that failed or eventually went out of business. I mean, statistically speaking, 90+% of startups fail after by year 3 or year 5 or something like that. Like almost all of them have gone out of business. And so VCs think this way too. They're like, okay, well, I'm not just going to put like all my investor money into one company. I'm going to spread it out over 100 companies in hopes that like one of them will have $1 billion exit, and they're okay if the other ones fail because the one is so big that like they succeeded, right? Quote unquote succeeded, even though they left a string of failures in the wake. So if you bring that down to like the personal level, just you as an individual, can you act like a VC or an angel investor too, and invest in your own projects, invest in your own self, and just accept the fact that most of them will probably fail and not make a lot of money, but like maybe 1 or 2 or 3 will do well enough that you could make that 100,000 euros and have a decent living and have control of your future and things like that. So I just like this idea of being in better control and also of spreading out my opportunities to increase the surface area for luck. And so that's changed how I view money. It's also just made me appreciate money more. When you work at a company, it's easy to criticize it or think like, oh, I don't like the CEO, or I think this product's not great or whatever. But if you think about like, okay, well, somebody invented something that is so worth it to other people to buy that it's created a company that's making so much money that they can hire you, and they're making more money than they're paying you. Otherwise, they wouldn't hire you. And so it's you got to respect that in some ways, that like as much as we might hate our jobs, traditional jobs, that like someone's done a lot of work to make that even possible for you. So I'm just thinking of how do I think of myself as an investor, a VC, and a business owner, and create my own value in the world. And I just appreciate how hard it is, I guess, more than I used to, and appreciate the value of money. And when you get paid for something that you made or did, it's just like, wow, like I did this. Like it's not me plus 1,000 other people at this corporation that did this. It's just like me, like I personally like made this money, and you just value each dollar more, I think.
For sure. So many valuable things that you just said there. And I completely agree. Actually, I feel like the more I speak with young people, because I also one of my tentacles is also like coaching as well as in the education and psychology sector. And something that I'm finding more and more as well is, I don't know how much like awareness that young people have that this is kind of the future of work, because there's less and less stability actually in terms of what we used to think stability was, like you were saying, the traditional sort of job, the office job, that you would, theoretically stay at for a very long time. And they're starting to feel early on that there isn't that stability because, companies are laying them off earlier, they don't really stay in one place for too long. And so really learning to leverage your skills and to also be smart about money. I love the way you said kind of being your own investor. I think that's so cool. And it's also such a cool spin on it, instead of being like, I'm just throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. It's kind of like, okay, no, I'm thinking critically about where I want to invest my time, my energy, and my money to create something that could potentially, take off. So that's actually so cool. I really like that. I'm going to start telling people I'm investing in my projects.
Yeah, you're your own personal investor. Yeah,
Exactly.
that was something I picked on too, because I don't think, I don't give a lot of thought to my sort of tentacles, I guess, and are they like skills that I can use? But yeah, it's really a very interesting analogy.
Yeah. And definitely makes you value, the money that you earn more for
Oh
sure.
yeah,
I completely
that's true.
agree with that. And honestly, it's kind of saved me because in Portugal right now, the financial situation is very not good. And
You
so
mean the
it's
economy of Portugal?
exactly, exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
Whereby, especially young people are having a really hard time to, get started in life. I mean,
Yeah.
the housing market is insane. Like, I think I don't know about how it is in Belgium, Kelly, but at least I think in Holland, there's like a law that rent can't be more than 30% of someone's salary.
Yeah.
Here it's like 110%. So basically, you're making less than what the rent is.
Holy moly.
It's insane. Like it's
Wow.
just unfeasible. And so for me, it's really been a protective factor to do this kind of work where I can kind of put my eggs in many baskets because things are very unpredictable. And so having that extra, a little bit here, a little bit there, even if it's not the same each month, the fact that I know that I have different outlets and different, sources of income has been a great security for me, personally, where if I maybe were doing things more traditionally, I would not be so comfortable.
Yeah.
I don't know how it is
Yeah.
in Belgium though, Kelly. Is it the same? Do you have like laws for that?
There's not laws, but it's generally it is considered a bad idea if rent is like more than 50% of your paycheck.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
also it's getting really difficult because rent and like housing prices have gone up like through the roof. So like the amount you need to save per month is like sort of like 1700 to like sort of get like keep up with pricing, so it's not possible. So yeah, but the safety, my husband is actually a software developer. So, and he is like for like the last 5 years, he's been saying like, "Ooh, there's like not enough projects anymore." And in the beginning, I was like, "Yeah, you keep saying this," and it's like every damn time. But I think 2026 is actually the year that it might be like real, because a lot of his colleagues are like losing projects and they can't find new ones. So and it is weird to be in a like sort of future secure job suddenly feeling like, oh no, it's not secure anymore. So I think he has to also like have multiple baskets
Think
or
about his
eggs.
tentacles. Yes.
Yeah. I think so
Yeah.
too.
That's interesting that software engineering, especially right now, because AI has gotten so good at programming things, like the software engineers have basically created something to replace themselves. And I don't know. I mean, it's a weird concept to think about, right?
Yeah.
Like you were so excited about this technology and now it's going to take your job. And there's very few industries like that. I mean, like the AI is taking other people's job, but like those other people didn't make the AI, right? So it's kind of like you're eating yourself kind of thing. Like
you did it.
So it's like, okay, well, you guys wanted to innovate around this one. This is the outcome. But I also I do kind of think, I mean, with each iteration of technology over the generations, and I've lived through a few of them now, like the video game, internet, social media, mobile apps, and then now AI. Each of those generations has created more jobs than it's destroyed. And so the optimists think, well, there's going to be different economies. Like we just maybe don't know what they are now.
Exactly.
But then the pessimists are like, but it's different this time because none of those other generations of technologies could actually do much human work. Like they were tools that humans did to, be more efficient or whatever. But they didn't replace your job. But like now this technology can potentially replace almost any specialist's job. You know, that if you work on a computer of any kind of knowledge work, it could potentially replace you. So that's I do think there's something to that, but I don't know if it necessarily means massive job loss or if it means massive increase because there's other things to do.
I think also it could mean a change in the nature of the way that the job is done. So, like for instance, people checking on the work of the I'm gonna say robots. So it's kind of like robot inspector job 1, robot inspector job 2.
Yeah, that's actually funny because he has to do that on his they have used AI.
Exactly.
But the problem is people come in, promote AI and be like, okay, we did this project for you. Now we're going to leave. And then they're like, okay, but it stopped working and now we have to fix it. But AI isn't perfect. So it's like everything is wrong.
Exactly.
But you have to clean it up instead of creating the code yourself. So it's not fun anymore, I think. Like the creative part, they just took out of it, and now you have to be like the cleanup crew.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
oh, no.
I think that's true right now, but I could see a day where the AI is better than you at cleaning it. So you could just say, like your husband could just type in like, check this other people's work and fix it, and it'll fix it better than he could. So that's where things get kind of weird, you know. And I want to tie this back to generalism for a second, because like a year ago, a lot of people were saying generalists are going to thrive in the AI era because we can connect dots and you know, we're good at sort of anticipating things. We've seen lots of different takes on what can happen if, you know, you take action X, Y, or Z. And I think the verdict is still out on that. I'm not convinced that generalists will necessarily do better. I think in creative fields, maybe, because right now AI isn't that creative, but I think it could become creative. And right now it's sort of the average, you know, the answers that it gives you are kind of like the average of whatever 1,000 things it ingested to spit out that answer. Like it doesn't work on the fringes very well. And creative people historically have worked on the fringes of whatever they're doing. And so I think there will always be a role for that, but I just don't know what that looks like in terms of paid employment.
Yeah, I am curious though. Like, I don't like AI all the time, but I am curious because it does feel like it still has like a long ways to go, I think, in growth. And I'm curious to see what will happen and how it will change. So yeah.
No, for sure. No, it's true. And again, this is like one of those topics that we could talk about until the cows come home. I feel like there's no clear-cut answer.
10-episode series.
Yeah, exactly. A mini series. I think this is a good moment to, you know, sort of step into our lightning round, if that's okay with everyone.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, Kelly, you want to get it started? So no pressure, just answer the first thing that sort of comes in to your head.
The first one is really easy. It's a question that Maria sort of wants to know.
Oh, I always ask at everyone. It's just a silly one.
Yeah, so what's your astrology sign?
I'm a Gemini.
Oh, cool.
Oh, so many Geminis. What's happening?
So it's fun to see the patterns as well, like, you know, because we're all like clearly people who like to do many things as well, right? So it's funny to see like even just like astrologically how that pans out. So that's pretty, I feel like that's fitting. Geminis like to do a lot of things and they're very curious, right?
I don't really follow astrology much. I haven't looked into it much, but... Yeah, so that's cool. So that's a personality type that likes doing a lot of things.
Yeah, they're definitely really curious. Okay, so next one. Coffee or tea?
Tea. I don't drink coffee. I don't drink alcohol either. I actually, I have that kind of enzyme deficiency or whatever it is that a lot of Asian people have. Like I can't process alcohol.
Okay.
So if I drink like more than 1.5 beers, like I start to feel really sick. So, sorry, that wasn't your question.
No, that's cool. Okay.
I like that. I like random things. Please,
that makes a lot of sense. Then.
Random personal.
That's the point, I think, of the lightning round too. Like, just get random.
I wish I liked coffee because there's such an interesting culture around it. The whole, I've met people who are really into it, right? Like they find their own beans, they grind them this particular way, and then they brew them for X amount of time or whatever. I like the artisanal connoisseurish sort of like way, like you can have just plain old boring coffee, or you could have kind of like really interesting coffee with very subtle differences in flavor. And I like that culture around a drink. I guess tea has something similar, but it's not quite the same. It's more like the mix of herbs, right? But so I like drinking tea, but I think coffee has a cooler culture around it.
That's true. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, this next one's pretty fun.
Yeah. Which era would you time travel to?
Era. I don't know. Lately, I've been listening to a lot of '80s music. Like that's when I grew up in the '80s, and in the YouTube comments below these '80s music videos, a lot of people say like, "Oh, this is the last best decade in recent memory." Back when people were enjoying life and there was no social media and politics wasn't as tumultuous and like everything. I don't know. It's weird. Like in some ways, life feels a lot worse right now than when I was younger. But, statistically, it's actually better. Like there's fewer people in poverty than ever before. Despite the couple wars that are happening right now, like there's less war now than there's ever been in the history of the world. And so, like in some ways, life is much better, but it feels much worse somehow. So, I guess the 80s, like if you go too far back into the past, then you have like the Black Plague.
Questionable times.
Don't go there.
I'm not sure.
Life expectancy was like 40 years and stuff. Like there's just, if you're working in your field and you fall down and break your hip, like you basically just die out there.
Yeah, that's not good. Not good.
Life was much harder before, so I don't want to go too far back in time.
Too far back.
Makes sense.
Fair enough. Okay, this next one. What's your favorite animal?
Okay, so the obvious answer is octopus, but I actually, like to be honest, I don't think the octopus is my favorite animal. Like it's right now, obviously, metaphorically, it's like the perfect animal for what I'm trying to do. But and it is kind of like when I was a kid, I wanted to be a marine biologist.
Oh, cool.
So I do like the ocean. I was always fascinated by animals in the sea, but my favorite was the dolphin. Because it was so smart. I mean, octopuses are smart too in a different way, but I really like dolphins. I did like book reports and stuff on dolphins when I was a kid. So I think that's my favorite animal.
I feel like that's a great animal. It was my favorite animal when I was a kid too.
Nice. Yeah.
I love dolphins.
And like you'd read about it, like saving people's lives when you're lost at sea or something. And dolphins would come and rescue you and stuff like that. So I think it's kind of a cool animal.
It's a cool one for sure.
Oh yeah. Okay. Ocean, forest, or mountains?
This one's tough. I mean, I think mountains would be last on the list. I like oceans because I like just looking out at them. I don't lay out on the beach to get tan or whatever. Like I don't need a tan because I'm already brown. But I guess from a like pensive, when I want to do just thinking about like pondering my existence, there's nothing like sitting by the ocean and looking out over the expanse and just pondering your existence. But I also like for walking, I like the forest. Like I like hikes in the forest too, just breathing clean air and just feeling kind of invigorated by nature all around you. So I'd have to say those two. I'm not really a mountain climber person. Well, I've also never really lived near mountains. I know you guys have like the Alps or there's more cool mountains where you live, but like I grew up in Illinois, which is like one of the flattest states in the United States. There's no skiing in Illinois. There's like the biggest hill in the town I grew up, or in the suburbs I grew up in Chicago, there was this hill that you could, in the winters, kids would sled down it, but it wasn't a natural hill. It was actually made out of garbage.
Ew.
Like,
well, that's unique.
Yeah, in the 60s or something, like they didn't know where to put all the trash, so they made this giant pile of trash, and then they stopped because I think they realized how bad it was for the environment. But then there was just this giant hill, and eventually grass started growing on it, and it just became kind of a hill. And then it was adjacent to like a park, and so then kids would just toboggan or sled or tube down it in the wintertime. So that was fun.
Oh, wow. Little did they know they were just cruising on trash.
Oh, we knew it was trash.
Like, oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, we knew the history of it.
You got to use what you have, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. You got to use what you have. Exactly.
Maybe part of it's I just need more mountain exposure, and then I can appreciate what it has to offer,
I think that is true as well. Like, it depends on where your surroundings are as well. I don't survive well without the ocean nearby. Like, I've lived around in different places as well, and every time I live somewhere like quite arid, like where there's like, not much water around, I'm like, where's my water? So it's funny, we're creatures of habit. I think that is all of our questions. So that is all that we have. Is there anything that you want to add before we sign off for today's podcast? Oh yes, where can people find you? Where should they look?
Yeah, I guess one thematic thing I just want to leave the audience with is going back to this idea of becoming your true self. I feel like that's a lifelong process. We get to know ourselves. We let go of baggage that we carry from our parents, from society, from teachers, just expectations that people put on us. And it's something I've just been embracing more and more in this season, to just say, okay, I'm an octopus. I know that sounds weird at first, but that's kind of who I am right now, at least for this chapter of life. And I don't necessarily need people to, or want people to become octopuses. If you like the idea, like, you're welcome to use it. But I think the more important underlying theme here is to like find something that aligns with who you are and be who you are. Just like accept that you're wired a certain way, and see if you can make a life out of just being yourself. So that's the first thing. And then the other thing is where you can find me. So I have a small website at octopusway.com. And that's where I'll list my project Tentacles and what I'm up to. And then I have a Substack at davekang.substack.com where I've been writing about this stuff. I mean, those are the two places. And I'm on LinkedIn too as Dave Kang. But lately LinkedIn's been kind of stinking a little bit, like that.
Stinking a little bit.
The algorithm, like a year ago, my posts were getting maybe 3,000, 5,000 views, and now it's like 300, 200, 100. I think they're trying to get us to pay to boost posts now. Probably. So it's a little less fun, I guess. I mean, all these social media sites that are free eventually go this direction, but
of course.
But octopusway.com is where you can like find what I'm really up to in the project status.
Amazing.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. It's been a pleasure. And I feel like a lot of people will definitely resonate with this, I think, very visual way of seeing it, because as you said, it's, I think, in many ways a better word than just generalist, because it also just sounds a bit general, right? So this is a nice specific way to sort of visualize something I think a lot of people resonate with. So cool. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us today. And yes, I don't know if you want to add anything, Kelly.
Nope, not really.
Okay, well then we'll sign off.
Yes, and
thank you so much. And yes, we'll be linking everything below. So for those that are listening, just make sure to scroll down and see where you can find Dave. All right, thank you so much, Dave.
Thank you for listening.
Bye.
Bye.